Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we're going to be doing a little bit of coin dealing advice, and it's probably one of the number one rules. Now, that doesn't really scream number one rule, but I think it's one of, outside of being honest and doing good business practices, it's something that everybody really needs to hear. And so we're going to be discussing the importance of turnover and cash flowing and doing a lot of business when you are dealing coins and why it's so important. There's a lot of different angles that we're going to cover, and so stick around for 6 to 10 minutes and I'll give you my perspective. I've heard this from others, I've seen it myself and how important it can be. Looking forward to getting into things. So a little bit of background, I do a fair amount of coin trading, selling anything from US coins and silver gold bullion to world coins, ancient coins, medieval stuff, and it's been really fun even getting into metals, varieties, exonumia. But the biggest takeaway in leveling up the types of business that I've been doing is literally just finding ways to sell more and turn items over faster. And the key thing here is that when you sell something, it then frees up capital so that you can then repeat this process. And I think a lot of the biggest backlogs in my coin dealing business, I really like the content creation side, and that's something that I purely do for fun. I think on the dealing side, that's a little bit more of a business practices thing. So I don't have a particular passion for, finding a silver bar and buying it for $1,000 and then selling it for $1,050 and doing that a bunch of times. I mean, it's great because it's a way to make some amount of money, but you have to, that sort of thing then just becomes, I'm only doing this because it's flipping, and there are other benefits of it. But the point is, this will be more of a business strategy video as opposed to like a passion for coins video. So the first thing is doing a lot of turnover, again, lets you have capital available. So I think one of the big perspective shifts that I have had is that in the past I would only buy things that I thought I was going to make money on. And that sounds really smart, but when you look at, and then the other, flip side of that, I'm going to pause that thought for a minute. The other flip side of that is that I try to sell things much faster than I used to and not take the last dollar. So as I'm not going to have any math go across the screen, but I think this analogy will make sense to anybody. If you buy a coin for $100 and you think it's a $150 coin, if you are able to either sell it immediately for $135 or wait 6 months and sell it for $150, that's sort of a trade-off that you have to think about doing. If you're purely doing this as a casual collector, then waiting that extra 6 months to get $15 extra might make a lot of sense. However, if you can immediately turn around, sell it for $135, and then buy another coin for $100 and sell that for $135, even if you just, it takes another 6 months to find that extra coin, now in that time frame, you will have made $70, $35 a coin instead of $50. It's a very simple example, and there's plenty of cases where that's not the situation, but all the best and greatest coin traders that I have seen really take this approach, and you want to constantly be spinning and buying stuff and selling it. It's also though, this brings us to our next point about an exercise in really being willing to lose, because if you try to get that last dollar and you're not buying enough, if you buy more and then you're able to turn around and sell it, often you'll have to take a loss on items. And I think it feels really bad, but I know that there have been hundreds of coins that I've lost money on in the last few months even, where I would rather buy more and sort of fine tune what I'm doing as opposed to buying only stuff that I know I can win, and then I'm not going to be learning as much. So being able to lose, obviously there's two things you can't do. You can't be losing more than you're winning. And then another part of that is it's really important not to make catastrophic errors. So it's not a good, if you take a $5,000 coin that's graded by NGC and you want to cross it over to PCGS or send it back to NGC for an upgrade, and you crack that out and you have $5,000 to work with, and then it comes back that it's cleaned or it comes back a grade lower, you're going to have tied up that capital for a fair amount of time, just like we were saying is important not to do because you waited all that time for the grading. But if that all of a sudden is a $2,000 coin, you've dramatically limited the amount of capital that you have to work with. On the other hand, if you have $5,000 in a coin and you're doing this frequently, and maybe you have $500,000 of coins that you're trading with, you can afford to have some of those losses. And then instead, you can, if you're doing this at scale, you should have a sense of what you're doing. There's going to be some wins that make up for it. So I don't really buy $5,000 coins. I buy a lot of coins in the $10 to $50 range these days. And I have more than $10 or $50 to work with. So if the average profit on something that I buy is going to be 20%, which that's sort of what things are for me, there's going to be a few coins I buy for 20 that end up being a $50 coin, and then there's also going to be a lot of $20 coins that end up being $15 coins. But if I can do it at a great enough scale, it's going to work out okay. Another reason that this is helpful to do a lot of turnover is because you get to work with a lot of new sellers and a lot of new buyers. So instead of just buying from one person, you're able to maybe get a much bigger network, both again on the selling side and on the buying side, where you're familiar with the sources that you get, and then you're also familiar and you're able, if you're selling to retail, which is probably a lot less efficient than a lot of the wholesale traders. It's very uncommon to have models that are doing efficient quantity, buying wholesale and selling to retail, and often takes a lot of time and a lot of expertise. So I do a lot of both, but probably it's easier to do the wholesale. The retail, there's a lot more like customer service. If you're just buying lots of graded coins and going around to shows, and then you have a few wholesale dealers, that's going to be a much different process, and you can really hone in on gaining the skill of like grading or sourcing and doing a lot of dealer sourcing. So there's probably some downsides, because I also do a fair amount of retail and put a lot of effort towards that. And so this is not really the point of the video, but you have to be careful about not spreading yourself too thin, and that's something that I feel like I can get prone to as a dealer in terms of just, okay, I've been trying to develop this wholesale practice, but on the other hand, I'm selling a lot of coins to retail, and it's, I really like the process of, again, at the end of the day, I'm doing this from a business perspective, but also for fun. I feel like it's a really good way to give back to the kind of world, the collecting community. Coins has been so fun for me, and when I'm able to deal really effectively, I get to learn a ton. And because of sort of the social media infrastructure that we have going on here, and having a YouTube channel, then I'm able to bring that knowledge. And I was interrupted briefly, my camera storage ran out, but a lot of people have mentioned that they've sort of gotten a start in dealing because of the videos, or they've seen a totally different side of the world and understood history, or introduced a son or a daughter or grandson or granddaughter, family member, friend to the concept of what money really is. I think that there's just a lot of good that can be done through it. So that is where I'm also super excited from, like a retail and just like a fun for the public. My main profession is not rare coins. I'm a college student. So I think it's been something wonderful, but then you can definitely be tripped up. You want to probably pick one niche, and you can always pivot out of it. But I think a lot of people go the wholesale route, and certainly a lot of the traders do, because also it's a big issue. Again, my big backlog is in processing. It's not actually in finding material to buy or finding material to sell, maybe somewhat on the selling side, but a lot of it is, if I have a bunch of stuff coming in and I just have inventory that's sitting and it's not available for sale, that is a real issue from a business perspective, because at the end of the day, it's not turnover. It's not being turned over. So that goes back to the original premise of this video. A last reason to do this is just general, like, you learn best practices of selling for doing it for a while, whether that's seeing new coins. I'm super excited to deal because it allows me to show more coins, learn about them, understand their histories, especially in the ancient, medieval, Islamic, and world domains. And I get to learn the histories along with them, and then talk about that and communicate that to you, whether that's here in a YouTube auction, Whatnot auction, wherever that is, or my website, Treasure Town. But I think that it's also, okay, how am I going to do my taxes really well? Or how am I going to learn to ship and do the fulfillment really well? There's so many different angles that you get to do a lot more of if you're able to find a way to just do more turnover in the coin world and the coin business. So I hope that this was helpful. This perspective has been enormously valuable for me, and I try to do my best. There's obviously a few tricks of the trade that I keep a little bit secret, but for the most part, I just want to help everybody out there and make the hobby a better place. So looking forward to hearing from you in the comments, and I'll see you soon. Lots of, speaking of new inventory coming to Treasure Town, so it's been really fun recently. Have a good one. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to visit our website, treasuretown.com, to stay up to date on everything going on the channel and possibly get some great deals on coins and collectibles. We look forward to seeing you on our future videos, and best wishes until then.